this recording?
This recording.
Awesome.
Spencer Douglas.
Nice to see you down there.
There we go. It's been 3 weeks since the last episode.
Yeah.
We were going to do bourbon, but we realised we don't know fucking anything about bourbon. So we're on whiskey today.
Yeah, we have Auchentoshan.
That one.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a minute.
From Glasgow, I think.
That's correct. We have Dalmore, the Dalmore, to be specific, representing the Highland whiskies. And over here we have Oban from the Never Eat Shredded Wheat west coast of Scotland.
This is actually my favourite, my personal favourite when it comes to Scotch.
Fantastic.
So where do you want to start?
I think we should start with the Auchentoshan.
Okay.
It's the lightest of the three, and it's closest to the original form of whiskey.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
one of the closest in terms of the Scottish whiskies, meaning that it is triple distilled, or if not triple distilled, then 2.5 times distilled, which is also common for the lowland whiskies.
How do you distill something half?
I've always wondered the same thing. I think they pass it through the stills half a time or something, or maybe half the staff.
Yes. Maybe has left over at the end of the shift. Well, on that note, cheers. Here we go.
Cheers.
Auchentoshan, a Glaswegian whiskey.
Oh.
That's a great start to a Tuesday afternoon, is it not?
Yeah, this is how we should spend all our Tuesday afternoons.
Well, one of the complaints that we had about last week's video from people in the TV industry was that there's too much background noise. And they said, use better microphones and shoot it all in a studio. And we were like, no, we'll just start drinking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
The studio environment.
Production value. This is like the shittiest microphone that Spencer could find. I think he found this on the street.
I had a really good one last time. We've decided to move downhill a little, so we're going to take this less seriously from now on.
We're actually selling off all the camera equipment piece by piece so we can buy more booze. So yeah, on that note, right. So explain this. Run this by me.
Okay. So Auchentoshan whiskey essentially is a light whiskey for as far as single malts go in Scotland. What the triple distilling process does is it really lightens and refines the whiskey. So essentially you're talking about a lot of high fresh notes, sometimes described as like grassy or herbal notes. This one is actually quite rich, the 12 year here, nice caramel color, but lighter than your typical can't think, fuck it, lighter than Dalmor. It's, you know, if you're new to Scotch and you're nervous of the more powerful flavors, the lowland whiskies are a great place to start. I mean, another comparable whiskey would be something like Bladnoch. I don't advise you to go for Little Mill because it's similar to Paint Stripper.
Fantastic.
This is how I usually start.
This one, I've got to be honest, Auchentoshan is not one of my favourites. I don't know why. I mean, I'm more a fan of the Obans and the Taliskers and the Belvenis and stuff like that.
Actually, I mean, a lot of people who are hardened and regular Scotch drinkers don't necessarily rate lowland malts because they think they're a little too light, not enough character to them.
Oh no, it's a good Scotch. Don't get me wrong on that count. But
no, you were saying shit a minute ago.
That's right.
Poor guys at Auchentoshan spent hundreds of years working on this recipe, and you're like, yeah, me with my bar that I would hook up like thousands of customers are going to listen to what I say. I'm just going to knock it down. In
fact, we're not going to stock this anymore. There we go. That's it. I've struck it from the menu.
I'll take the remaining stock.
That is the remaining stock.
I'll take that. Be for dinner.
You drank all the preceding stock as well. That was the problem. Right, let's get some more glasses. I can't finish this before we barrel into the Dalmor, I guess.
That's correct. As you're well aware, Dan's completely faking this. He knows nothing about Scotch, bare minimum about booze. I mean, unless, you know, drinking things like Paint Stripper and I forget what they call it, methylated spirits, the pink stuff, if that qualifies you to give commentary on booze, then he would be well qualified. Hey Dan.
Right, what are you rabbiting on about this week?
I was just introducing a little more of your background.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to introduce a little bit more of your background in cutaways, which we're going to add into the program.
Oh dear.
Well, when I start editing later, let's get rid of that.
Yeah, cutaways, that was a request, wasn't it?
Well, we tried to pitch this show to guys getting drunk in a bar to Discovery Network.
Genius idea for a show, if you ask me.
Yeah, but unfortunately they said that it wasn't dynamic enough, it wasn't exciting enough. We didn't have anything like cutaways or second cameras or...
I'm sure there's some... I mean, we can do a cutaway.
Well, just for those watching at home who aren't in the TV industry, this is a cutaway.
Yeah, what do they do? Why are people so interested in these things anyway? Giant waddling birds that don't fly in eyes.
Oh, little happy feet. In fact, I'm just going to completely stitch you up. I'm not going to intercut a shot of penguins. There we go. So that was a cutaway. If that made the show more interesting, please put something in the comments saying yes. If you thought it was a complete waste of time, then send your messages to who was the one who recommended that we stick cutaways in the show. There you go. Unless you want to see more penguins, in which case I'm happy to do that. Right, so what are we on now?
So here we have the Dalmore. This is really a very well respected Scotch all over the world. Dalmore is a Highland whiskey. It has the classic stag insignia. It's a typical Speyside sort of Highland whiskey, but it's rather richer than a lot of the other whiskies from the region.
I was going to say, it's a lot more complicated than the Auchentoshan for a start.
Yes, absolutely. It's a complex whiskey. It definitely, it has a richness, it has a body to it, whilst at the same time being overall a fairly sweet and light whiskey. It's also delicious. Quite an unusual nose. I mean, actually, when you sip the whiskey, the flavors are very different from what you expect.
There we go. More complex than the Auchentoshan. Different geographical location, but essentially the same ingredients.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, actually, it's a very good point. There was a very famous booze reviewer from the UK.
So Michael Jackson.
There you go. A chubby, bearded man from Newcastle.
Well, actually, that's probably what the original Michael Jackson was aiming for, with the amount of plastic surgery that he had.
But,
sorry, the famous booze reviewer.
And he always said that no other alcohol in the world has the range of flavors that whiskey can present. And although whiskey always has a predominant flavor of whiskey, obviously, it is true that from incredibly sweet to incredibly peaty to salty to light, crisp flavored to almost herbal, grassy flavor.
He said this in comparison to wine, which has
in comparison to wine and in comparison to beer. Yes.
So yeah, there you go, whiskey. I was actually going to put this in the rinse bucket, but you just completely destroyed it.
Oh shit! Whoops! I finished mine.
Oh, see it away. Cheers. No, you crack up.
Okay. I was going to get back to Auchentoshan there, but I suppose.
I actually prefer drinking Scotch with water, which is why I have this. And Spencer calls me a pussy for having this, but I find that Scotch tends to open up quite a lot by adding just a bit of still water to it. It's good.
I just simply enjoying myself.
You insinuated that I was being quite pussy by drinking Scotch with water.
I once got punched in the eye for insinuating that I was mocking a Frenchman with my eye that he punched.
So he punched the eye that mocked him.
Exactly. It's sort of like biting the hand that fed him or something.
We can't go back onto the French again. No, that's it's an easy target.
The French punched me in the eye. I'll go back to the French anytime I want.
Fair enough.
Well, another Frenchman punched me in the back of the head in Paris.
Because you looked at him menacingly with your toupee?
The back of my head stared at him mockingly. Walking down the streets in Paris, as I was walking along, all of a sudden my glasses, which I don't wear anymore, came flying off. And I thought, that's odd. And at the same time I registered that there was a pain and some impact in the back of my head. I turned around and there was a Frenchman, as there should be in Paris, and he looked sort of confused, angry and nervous at the same time, and then ran away.
So he hit you in the back of the head.
That was the end of it.
Realised you were the wrong person, and then ran off.
Something along those lines, I guess. I don't know too much about Oban, and I could read off the massive essay that they've kindly written on the bottle for us.
This is a good opportunity for a cutaway, isn't it? That's the bottle. See,
it's pretty, even out of focus.
You can't read it.
So Dan, you've been drinking Oban most of your life. So
that's right.
You could tell us a little bit about how you discovered it and what it's all about.
Yes, I mean this was the first bottle of Scotch that I bought with my own money, single malt Scotch that I bought with my own money when I was a youngster at the age of 18, and we were taking a trip to the Isle of Mull up in Scotland.
To mull over things?
I'm not even going to grace that comment with a with a comeback. Actually, that was just shit.
It made me so happy though.
God.
Okay, let's not mull it in. Let's move on.
I'm going to ban you from the program if you carry up with that crap. About this is it's 14 years old and it tastes angelic. It's one of the greatest Scotches ever made, in my opinion. Oh, actually, no, it says here on the label, one of the greatest Scotches ever made.
Okay, real quick this time. So Oban is a West Highland whiskey. It's unusual in the sense that it's what can I say? It's one of the closest whiskies to the Islay whiskies that sits on the mainland. So it has a heavy peat influence, but not nearly as heavy as say Lafroig or Lagavulin. At the same time, it has a certain sweetness, a certain complexity, reminiscent of the Speyside whiskies. So it makes it quite a unique whiskey overall. And many people are very passionate about Oban. It's like the rolling smoke over the sweet hills of the west coast before you get to Islay. In any case. So yeah, Oban whiskey is quite an individual whiskey in Scotland, and much like a whiskey, say like Talisker, it creates devotees because of its individuality as well as its quality.
It's kind of up there with Ardbeg, in my opinion.
I thought you didn't like Ardbeg.
I don't like Ardbeg, no, but Ardbeg does have a devout following.
Very true. I love Ardbeg. I'm a huge fan of Ardbeg.
Yeah, I find it's too much for me, actually. Ardbeg is a very, very hardcore. Yes. Yeah, well, we'll come on to that one day.
This show is also sort of Dan's whiskey education at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
He discovers that there's, more beyond the one whiskey he had when he was 16.
I know.
He's been drinking ever since then.
And I'm a practicing alcoholic. And I'm going to keep practicing until I get it right. Right, well, I've had enough of scotch, to be quite frank. It's too early in the afternoon, so let's crack on to a beer. Let's we have 10 seconds to review Sapporo. Which is one of the...
Sapporo!
Mabashiba! To all of our friends up in Japan who are suffering at the moment.
Cheers.
You make fantastic lager.
You make amazing lager.
It's like a lowland lager.
Oh, it's lovely. Crisp and fresh, triple distilled.
Oh, quite frank.